Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to LEGO MARVEL Avengers. Let's continue. You know, it's worth mentioning that I believe in the chronology of LEGO games, this might be a more modern game that brought back the mini kits, because I definitely know that there are newer LEGO games that just kind of abandoned them, or at least they wouldn't depict them so much as the mini kits. The icon that's spinning in the lower left hand corner that has 2 of 10 under it. And even that mini kit, while it is basically the same pieces, it is different pieces in different colors, which probably reflects the colors that those pieces would actually have been available in during the time that this was released. That very well may have been an issue, certainly, with why they kind of got away from the LEGO mini kit designs, but also certainly they started just replacing them with other things, because in the Star Wars games, mini kits, getting 10 of those would unlock some kind of vehicle in LEGO Star Wars, and they didn't really want to spend the extra effort to have custom designed vehicles for all of the games. And I could certainly see in like Marvel Avengers how you really wouldn't end up with 15 different vehicles, although it wouldn't be that hard to do. So we've got Loki and some flickering that I think is intentional.
The Chitauri grow restless.
Let them guide themselves. I will lead them in a glorious battle.
Your ambition is little. We look
So the other seems not to be
the Tesseract will unveil.
the character I thought he was.
You will have your war.
So
Yeah, iridium. It's found in meteorites. It forms antiprotons. It's very hard to get hold of.
Especially a shield knows you need it.
Tell me what you need.
I need a distraction.
So I guess you spend half of the movie following Loki and Hawkeye being the bad guys. And the chronologically speaking, we're
This way, Captain Rogers. There are some folks that would really like to meet you.
there. They make a reference to damage control, which they never really managed to do anything with that.
I gotta say, it's an honor to meet you. Officially.
So now we're playing as Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Coulson, and you can see now we are in the Marvel Avengers Manhattan world, and there's really no reason why you wouldn't reuse this world over and over and over again. It is very much where what you would want to do is just pretty much any game that could be set in Manhattan should be set in Manhattan. I was certainly questioning if LEGO City Adventures potentially was a early prototype of the Manhattan design. It is worth mentioning though, there's a lot of non-LEGO, certainly. Like once they started to either buy or design 3D models of Manhattan in the bigger open world sections, they really abandoned the idea of anything really having Lego pieces on it. So you're 90% the real world, and occasionally you'll get like a Lego item here on the streets, very repeatable, placeable objects. This is where the real fun of the game, I think, will be had. So we want to do the story, but then I imagine what we'll spend a significant amount of time wandering around the city like we did in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Of course, now if they were going to bundle or remake these games, it would be LEGO Marvel Superheroes 1 and 2 with LEGO Marvel Avengers in the middle, and then you'd have about 45 levels of story, and then probably a nice combination of collectibles in the overworld. But then you also run into the problem of a lot of the collectibles in the overworld being not so much important, like they're just things that exist, and we have these phantom studs pointing us in the direction we're supposed to go. They ideally would want you to get a little distracted so you kind of forget about how bad the story has been so far. And I imagine it was pretty much two different teams that made the overworld versus the story levels. And what we're really looking for here is we'll have to see if this feels like this is a decent amount of activities in the overworld when we do the overworld, or if it's too many or too few. You can see on the map here we've got indicators just everywhere on the radar telling us where to go, which is nice. Certainly that you're not getting forced. They still have a problem here with the phantom dots being in the middle of the road, whereas it probably would be better if it was just on the right, because if you were to get into a taxi you could then drive, and I assume that you can somewhat drive. And there you can see we made a major jump by driving the taxi. Then we've got a pizzeria. Of course you would. And here you have a classic problem with LEGO cars, is that they're not very smart, so they will just get in the way of each other. And all these random people will kind of disappear as soon as you get far enough away from them, or they'll stop walking. There's a decent amount of randomness here as far as these minifigs. Like here you have one guy and kind of the same guy there, but I've certainly seen in LEGO games previously there being just 4 or 5 clones of the exact same character. See here you can see 2 of these characters, but they have different hair. They have the same outfit but different hair, or these 2 outfits with different hair. Yeah, decent amount of variety. Of course these games are probably being targeted more and more towards the Switch these days, and I imagine even the Nintendo Switch is not so underpowered that you have Moon Knight, and I don't know what Moon Knight would want us to do, but he'd almost certainly start some kind of quest. Moon Knight is an interesting character, but like so many other DC characters, there they crashed into each other again. They've failed to find a way to bring them into what is the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Marvel TV Universe, and it kind of leaves everything kind of one note as far as the Marvel movies, since it is always top tier superheroes doing top tier world saving missions. Alright, it seems like we've made it to a shield base. Cool. And over here we've got something. Let's see what this is. And eventually you'll just get cheats that let you completely skip all these QuickTime events, and those are definitely the reason why you would want to play the story stuff, is because there's no good reason to waste a lot of time doing all of the QuickTime events. They're not good. I guess we're going down here to a helicopter. And that will jump us into the next level. Alright. No frame drops, nothing to be concerned about at all for
The Tesseract would be dangerous
for
in anyone's hands,
recording.
but Loki?
But
I don't even want to think about what
that
he'd be
was
capable
10
of
minutes of
the mischief he could bring to the world would be anything
of just
harmless
walking
fun.
through the open world.
Why does he even want it? Isn't that scepter of his powerful enough? Hopefully our little team of experts will be able to track him down before it's too late.
I feel like Loki as a character was too popular, and thus they failed to
If it's not too much trouble.
be able to make him
It's a vintage set. Took me a couple of years to collect them all. Near mint. Slight foxing around the edges. You know, it's just a huge honor to have you on board.
Well, I hope I'm a man for the job.
Oh, you are. Absolutely.
yeah. Loki should have been more of a consistent bad guy. He was an intriguing bad guy when he was the bad guy, but he's just not consistently a bad guy, and then they just turn him into a good guy. And then since they wanted to rush the Civil War, which they shouldn't have done, they at that point needed to make a lot of the good guys bad guys, which I think weakened the impact of what a cinematic Civil War would have been. And I think the philosophical concept around the Civil War was kind of poorly done. And we're playing as Black Widow again, or Steve Bannon, who cannot transform by the looks of it.
Give me a break! Can people please not spill the oil drums all over the helicarrier deck? Watch your step. That oil stains really badly. Unless you're dressed all in black, I guess.
Uh-oh. This wasn't in this month's bullpen bulletin.
So she can walk through that fine. But he can walk through it also, so doesn't seem like it does anything to anybody. And I'm really just trying to play this like I think you would play a Star Wars game.
There isn't going to be anything landing
I mean a Lego game.
Get these runway lights switched on.
Like, you should just be able to run around.
Secretive about a lot of stuff, but you know, I'm not entirely sure whose idea it was to link one of the security cameras up to the runway light controls.
Face front. This looks like yet another perilous predicament.
It's kind of funny. It feels like the Stan Lee lines are in mono because it's only coming in on one of my headphone, one side of the headphones. Yeah, it's questionable, certainly. Like, if there was a sequence like this, it.
This wasn't in this month's bullpen bulletin.
Let's see, I guess I'm supposed to hit that? Whatever. It's kind of a hassle to try and like play these levels when you kind of don't have a straight goal, and instead you're told, well, there's this thing you can do, this thing you can do, and this thing you can do, but and this guy can't. Let's see, hold left trigger, right trigger, X, B, A, Y. Yeah, holding Y would be the transform button, and they're not letting me do it at the moment. And right now I have like all the hints enabled. Alright. So what I'm thinking is that this is another case of the game possibly needing to run at 30 frames per second instead of 69. Well, doesn't seem like I can even change it at the moment. I could change it down to 59 hertz as far as a refresh, but I could maybe turn on vertical sync. It might be vertical sync. Actually, vertical sync sometimes does seem to weirdly affect games. Yeah, if this is a goal. No, she can go invisible. She can't scan apparently. Seems weird that they would give you 3 things to do and then limit you to only actually being able to do 1 at a time.
While you're here, what do you think of that welcome banner for Captain Rogers? It's pretty neat, right?
Okay. So that did one thing. And then we need Captain America to do several other things. And I doubt that there's a secret
This looks like yet another perilous predicament.
we may have to save and exit the whole game to reset to 30 frames per second. There's just a lot of things you can shoot. And kind of nothing else. Like this guy, like most LEGO guys, does have the plunge forward ability, which is different than her double jump, which does seem to now be working. Okay, so I don't know if that was because of vertical sync or what. Alright, so now that lets me shoot these two and bring down what might be an elevator. Okay.
This looks like yet another perilous predicament.
We have a little screen. We have something we can build here. This is going to be another cursor. Yes, it is. So we have to click all the circuits to light up this screen completely, the logo. Yeah, they really dropped the ball as far as interesting LEGO mini games.
Then Director Fury is gonna be Director Fuming. That'll make me Director Fired.
I think if they really thought it through too, there is probably a decent number of mini games you could make around actual Legos, like sorting Legos by color, sorting them by size and shape, things like that you would actually have to do when playing with Legos.
Shield's new aircraft signaling officer at your service. Or at least I would be if
Here's
I
a
hadn't lost the
damage
official
control
Shield signaling flags.
character.
And the next Quinjet is going to be in range for landing any minute now. Can you help me find him?
Why am I getting subtitles now with screens on the background? Have they been that way the whole time? I don't think so.
Face front. This
No.
looks like yet another perilous predicament.
It's weird to have subtitles in two different fashions, which probably means that we were going to get those subtitles no matter what. And that they're trying to make it more kid-friendly by reducing the amount of reading in the game. Like, great example of a mini game here that just has nothing to do with Lego and any kind of game. And it's not like TT Games even makes other kinds of games. As far as I know, they have not made a Lego game, a non-Lego game, in a very long time. They made some things that are not quite this style of Lego game before, but they've been very consistent as a one-trick pony. I don't think I can blow that up. Nope. And well, I might be able to shoot those. I don't think so. Let me pick up the flag and hand it to this guy. Again, you would not have been able to do that until you'd done the first one. So I don't know why they gave me 3 goals when I could have only done 1 of them.
Did I mention it's my first day on the job?
And I really wish I could turn down the music and turn up the volume on the characters, but they don't have an option for that. Alright, and so then that leaves us with, we need some kind of cleaning vehicle, which I don't know where that cleaning vehicle would come from. And or some kind of vehicle in general. Is it back here? I guess it is. I guess this opened at some point. I'm not even sure when it did. I have to press A to move forward, which is different than before. I don't know if I'm really controlling anything or if I'm just accelerating with the A button. So we now know what we're going to do anytime we see this kind of goo. B to back up. You have to kind of be fairly close to the center of it for it to clean. And yeah, you definitely would not have been able to do this until you'd scanned the other area. I was almost there and then I moved.
Hey, thanks. The deck looks so clean. Why, it's as good as new. I didn't even think it was possible to see your own reflection in concrete.
So yeah, this is another one of these open air non-levels that are just unfinished when it should have been a complete story level. And you can see that they were still working on this. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a 3 games at the same time in development time period for TT Games, in which they were wrapping up Marvel superheroes, Lego Marvel superheroes, and a lot of this content may have just been cutting room floor stuff.
Is this a submarine? Really? They want me in a submerged pressurized metal container?
I think this is gonna just make an elevator. Okay. It's gonna make a switch that activates an elevator. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a lot of feeling that some of this content, some of these cutscenes even, were supposed to be in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Meanwhile, I wouldn't be surprised if they were also working on developing some other game that wasn't in the Marvel universe at all.
Gentlemen, we got a hit.
Location?
Stuttgart,
But
Germany. 28 Königsstraße.
unfortunately,
Not exactly hiding.
almost every LEGO game has some major issues with it. Either it's the engine doesn't run on certain computers, which became a consistent problem with all new LEGO games, and just all LEGO games on PC in general. But also, they seem to always take as many steps backwards as they take forwards, and they just don't give themselves enough time to polish and develop a game and just test it for bugs and have a fully fledged story and a fully fledged experience. And they just pump out LEGO games as quickly as possible, which honestly they should have probably.
Not to a mischievous menace like you.
Look to your elder people. Let him be an example.
But yeah,
The soldier.
it feels like this story is almost done completely, and it can't be the case. We've only done 3 or 4 levels. I think 3 at most. And here we have a case of Iron Man just being far too cool for school.
Crave subjugation.
So, yeah. I don't know if we are in Sarkovia or if we are somewhere else. This is just like a boss fight, and this is part of one of the things about the LEGO games as they grew and grew, is you just constantly saw more and more LEGO boss fights with the characters specifically having ridiculously large amounts of hearts around them, and it's a nice number of people running around here, because that's kind of all they need to do is have some predefined spots where they can run around, and that would be it. And then the bad guys that are mind controlled are actually gonna have to be programmed to run towards you and attack you. And there, Loki takes on one person, and then you have to save that person by switching to the other people. They want to make sure you know how to do that. Of course, it's fairly easy to just play this like a LEGO game and smash things up. Although sometimes the bosses can't be sometimes they can't be attacked by ranged weapons, which becomes kind of funny. There are probably all kinds of collectibles and such that you would want to find and collect in here during this boss battle, but it's at the moment easiest just to be able to avoid this. And we found Spider-Man to be the character in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. I wouldn't be surprised if Spider-Man is not even really playable in this, and so we very well may find that Iron Man is the character that has the most amount of abilities, and thus he is the character to play with while trying to get all of the collectibles and stuff happening. trying to just accomplish every little mini game and every little collectible. And we can see playing as Captain America, who doesn't really have a good like ranged attack, because he doesn't with any button just throw his shield. You have to hold down and lock it on the target. There is probably a lack of good button placement and control inputs for this game. Like playing this with an Xbox One controller, as I am, is it's leaving a lot to be desired, because you could do more for sure with the D-pad instead of just having it be a copy of the analog stick. You could do something with the left click and the right click. You could do something with the left trigger and right trigger, and just none of those are there. And I'm not sure if you're supposed to do some kind of combo attack or what. So I transformed over to Iron Man, and then that just triggered something. I don't know if there was something more I was supposed to scan or activate there, and the game just skipped it because I didn't know what to do.
Not a word. Just get him here.
This guy packs a wallop. Still, you are pretty spry for an older fellow. Fury didn't tell me he was calling you in. Yeah, there's a lot of things Fury doesn't tell you.
And see, here you have like Thor looking like a bad guy, which I guess I could stretch the story a little bit.
I thought you dead. Did you mourn? We all did. Our father. Your father. Listen well, brother. I'm listening. This is beyond you, Metal Man.
He gives up the cube, he's all yours. Until then, stay out of the way, tourist.
Yeah, this is kind of a problem, I think, in particular with the Avengers movie, but in general, is that you needed probably full trilogies of each of the individual characters before they even started to think about interacting with. I should save always, just in case we run into another glitch. Like, Thor had a decent first movie, but then his second movie and third movie kind of not as good. And once they all started becoming the Avengers, it started to be all Avengers all the time. Which is inconsistent with the comic books, where each of the characters in the Marvel Universe might have 1 to 3 different comic books that are centered around just that one main character. I guess if you compared this to the Star Wars show games, you had Luke, Leia, and Han Solo for the original trilogy there, and they were pretty much the main characters, with of course Vader being the main bad guy, and then there was certainly lots of other secondary characters, but they often were given very little screen time and were later expanded upon by backstory and toy sales. see. Can he scan? Yeah. He does seem to just press B to scan instead of making you press any buttons. So it's telling me to press A to fight in kind of this cinematic cutscene. Which, frankly, at that point, I feel like you would have been better off just having that be a cutscene, an in-game cutscene. This is a kind of level where you would expect there to be a lot of plants and things to break, and there's really not as much as I think there could have been. And Thor is just cinematically breaking them all anyways. See, that looks like something you'd have to charge. Giant chainsaw. Okay. We've seen these kind of panels before where you put energy in them. Well, we're over here. Let's see what happens if we break this. Nothing. Okay. So this is one of those examples of a lot of comedic stuff, a lot of corny, now it says tap X, cartoony, Looney Toony type stuff in the middle of, now press B, in the middle of a high action, high drama story section. So yeah, it's hard to kind of justify that. Like, it's not balanced. Whereas I feel like the Star Wars games, although in all fairness, I do probably just have an initial bias for the LEGO Star Wars games because they were the first. They definitely had problems. So now we have a purple glowing thing that we can blow up. I can just fly. Then look at the trees and see how none of them are Lego still. That would be one of the best improvements that them going back and remaking Lego games could improve upon, is they could say, hey, let's just do some basic copy and pasting and say, hey, the trees, the backgrounds, the things that we've since replaced with Lego versions of things, let's replace them. Of course, with each of these Lego-fied items, you are having more polygons and you are having more textures than a generically made tree that you probably got from something like Speed Tree, which is a third-party game development assistive software. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm trying to break the spiders. I already missed one. So now he's gonna step into the human cannon, and I am now automatically transferred into Captain America to fire Iron Man. I suppose a lot of the Marvel movies were playing on that old trope of of what would happen if Thor fought Iron Man, and just same old fights. Yeah, there was less of that certainly later on in the Marvel movies once everybody became friends. And you stop seeing people fight each other. Particularly, I think, because you have this scenario where Thor is probably going to beat everybody except for maybe Captain America and Iron Man, and it's going to be kind of pathetic fights if you see Pepper Potts, say, go against a damage control agent. Like, that wouldn't be an interesting fight per se. I'd also say this game, storyline wise, is not particularly interesting. I would have to turn off the music at this point too. It's fairly repetitive. Like, you can't get around it. It is very, very repetitive, playing the exact same scores for the most part and keeping the dialogue fairly low. Well, anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. I'm not sure how far we've gotten, but I imagine we really are at best only a third of the way through. It could also be that there really are only 8 levels in the story. Nope. I think at minimum there has to be 10 levels, because no, that would be wrong too. There could be 8 levels, and then there could be 7 red gold bricks out in the overworld, or there could be 15 gold red bricks out in the overworld, and we could actually have only 4 or 5 levels in the story. Anything is actually possible once you introduce the overworld as a concept. So we'll just have to see how this goes. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam or gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.